Hello, I am Jamie Orr, and yes, I am a huge Audi and Volkswagen nerd, and today I'm going to be talking about, well, a rather mysterious Audi RS2 that I've been investigating for the last 3 weeks, and it all kind of just came to a head today. So basically, I'm just going to jump right into it. This is the specific Audi RS2, or so it seems, and we're going to talk about why it's not really an RS2. Which is a real shame, but to get to the end point, bear with me because this has taken a lot of effort and research, a lot of nerd help from friends all over the country, indeed all over the world. So let's dive right into it. If you are new here, well, the Audi RS2 is a particularly hot special edition Audi that was assembled with Porsche, and it's very desirable. The prices have gone from $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000, $60,000, now $85,000. And they potentially keep going up. I have done a video on importing them. I have assisted dozens of my friends and clients with importing Audi RS2s, Audi S2, Volkswagen Golf Rallys, the 90s big horsepower, the turbo cars, the supercharged cars are super hot. So here's one that I did import for somebody, and if you don't believe me, well, here's Doug DeMuro. He has 1.1 million views on the Audi RS2 that he bought himself for a very solid five-figure number, getting closer towards six figures if we're rounding up quite a bit. So that's why they're hot. The car in question, though, yes, did go through Sotheby's, where it was a no sale. It did get sold privately afterwards, and at this point, that's where I came into the conversation, because I was reached by a friend in California, a good friend. Actually, let's just do this. Who is the sponsor of today's video? It's KW_Glenn on Instagram, who is the owner of the suspensionsource.com, of Solo-Werks coilovers, etc. He reached out to me and said, look, I've got a friend. He's ready to buy an Audi RS2. Can I refer him? And I said, sure, if you trust him, if he's a nice guy. I'm only helping select clients right now, but absolutely, send him my way, happy to help. He called me up. His name is Chris, and he's worked for an amazing range of companies. He's worked for Spiker, he's worked with Singer, he worked for Beverly Hills Audi. He is a car person through and through, and he said, I want to buy an RS2. Don't care where in the world it comes from, I just want a nice one. And hey, this one got offered to me. It's in the USA. The price I'm not going to disclose, but he had agreed a price. And I said, sure, this one looks great. The price compared to Europe is favorable, especially by the time we go through the effort. And if we find one in Norway or somewhere and we have to transport it far, this could be a great value. So if you want, I'll take a quick look at it. I said, wait, the VIN on this car, something's not right. I don't know what, but let me pull it up. So I jumped in my system, and let me show you one that I've imported previously. This is a previous one, and I've blanked out the last 6 digits because this is a client's car that I have imported. Audi A8 Avant RS2 Quattro, and the internal code is RS2. WAC is the beginning. Model year 95, there's the famous engine code ADU, 6-speed manual, that's what we expect. And if I go further into the PR code, which is the build codes for every single car that Volkswagen or Audi produces, it has all of these, and it says 2B1, which means put in an additional noise damper. But importantly, it also means T1M is that 5-cylinder petrol engine, 2.2034, and 6-speed manual for 4-wheel. So that this proves it. This one is a RS2, one that I have imported. However, this car, when I pulled it up, came up as WAU. And that's not right. That's a normal Audi A80, and indeed it says Audi A80 Avant, internal code A80. Okay, that's weird. Now, a lot of times a Golf Rally on the registration will just show VW Golf. It doesn't say VW Golf Rally G60, and again, an Audi 80 will just say Audi 80, and an Audi RS2 will just say Audi 80. So that's not the end of the world. Production production date is awfully early, 93 December. That's definitely way on the early side, but 5-speed manual, ADA. So I went a little further, and there's the engine in this car. M53, 4-cylinder 1.6. That is the very bottom economy end, and you'll see steel wheels, 15-inch. And going further, nothing special. And just to go back and show, here's the VIN, WAU, ending in 095873. And if we jump over to Sotheby's, here it is. WAU 095873. 095873. So this is the same car, but it was born in Audi 80. Okay, so I recommended further prudence, etc. Chris called the seller and told him, and they said, okay, I guess we're not going to sell the car right now. And that was fine, except a little while later it popped up for sale at this really cool dealership in Florida, RMC in Miami. And they've been very, very nice. I called them and said, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but there's something weird about this car. I don't know what it is yet. I've been researching it for a week or so. I've got some calls into a friend at Porsche, a friend at Audi, the Audi Club North America, and I can't tell you what it is yet, but something's wrong. Something. And they said, oh, well, actually, we think we got to the bottom of it. It is an RS2. We believe it was owned by somebody in Greece, perhaps a doctor, and for tax reasons, maybe it was a pre-production, or maybe Audi swapped the VIN or something. I'm like, okay, it doesn't sound great, but I mean, if you've done your research and you're happy with it, cool, great. I went off and continued to research, and I told them if I find something, if I find it's a pre-production, if I find that it's stolen, whatever it is, I'll come back and tell them. And that was fine. So then my first port of call was Benny. Benny Marjanek, 81,000 followers, for a very wonderful nerd. And I say that lovingly. He's a curator, and he works at the Porsche Factory Museum. He's also a big Volkswagen guy, a big Audi guy. He has inspected cars for me in Germany for my clients. So I absolutely trust Benny. And he looked into it a lot. He looked into it with what they have in their own collection. He looked into the records that he could find. He also talked to one of the leading RS2 and S2 enthusiasts and experts in Germany. Benny has gone on the record for this. The other enthusiast has asked to remain anonymous, but looking at the photos, they said yes, it has all the right signature components for an RS2, the extra strut bracing, etc. But there were some pre-production cars or early cars that were not RS2 chassis to start with. They were labeled as S2s. So it was possible that you would have a non-RS2 chassis number, but it would still have those same components, etc. But this wasn't one of them. That's what they determined. This was not one. This chassis number is not one of those pre-productions. They did not use a Audi 80 1.6 liter as the base for those. Now, in the Porsche collection, in the Audi collection, it seems to be 25%-ish are based on the S2s rather than the RS2s. But thanks to Benny, we were able to ascertain that yes, the chassis seemed correct, but no, this was not pre-production. And Audi swapping a VIN plate for a doctor to avoid taxes, let's not even get started on that. So that was fine. There were some other telltale signatures. For instance, here is, let me full screen this. This is the VIN plate of a genuine RS2 from the factory, original dirt and everything. And you can see it's a machine inserted, a hydraulic inserted rivet, and it has the plastic or the composite surrounding to stop the different types of metal touching. Very, very Audi, very what you'd expect. But the one on this car that we're looking at, and here's from Sotheby's, is standard, normal, hand-done rivets. So it's definitely been removed. And on a car that seems very original, etc., that's not bad. Maybe it was touched up, painted or something, or maybe the VIN plate was transferred from another vehicle, which is an option. It could have been a real RS2, and perceivably the doctor in Greece could have bought a Audi 80, taken the chassis numbers off of that, destroyed the car, moved the chassis plate onto a RS2, and then said, oh, it's just an Audi 80, just charge me the taxes on that. That is an option. That would involve no theft, no totaled car being reconstructed or anything. That is an option. Is that legal? In my opinion, no. You can't take a unibody and move the chassis numbers. You just can't. But is it nefarious? Is there any theft or something? No. Can we ever find out what happened? No. If you know what happened, please comment below or something. But we'll almost never know for that. So, I'm still doing my research. Still waiting for Audi to get back to me. George Acorn from the Audi Club USA or North America had really been helping me research build dates, etc. I really wanted to work out just what was possible and what wasn't. But then I saw, then I saw this post, and this is Ant. He's one of my friends through the community. I met him at Volkswagen shows, and he said, exciting news. He bought his dream car from the dealership, and they've been very nice to him, and I got tagged in it and said, I wonder if this was one Jamie helped import. It was not, but oh my gosh, I recognize this car. So just like I had a sad phone call that I dreaded making to the dealership to say, hey, this car is a little funky, I now had to call a friend and say, hey, that $85,000 car is a little funky. And that was not good, but yeah, he called, and the dealership, again, very nice people, not accusing anybody of anything other than what I'll explain has happened. They said, it was bought from Sotheby's, it has a good provenance, but that's fine. So I then called up Sotheby's, and I ended up speaking to one of their chief officers, just through the luck of getting through on the telephone. And he said, there's two different options of our cars. This was a consignment sale. They will do their due diligence to double check that the car isn't stolen, etc. But the seller signs and agrees that it's sold in good faith, but Sotheby's sells it as is, where is. So you're responsible for your due diligence, etc. The alternative would be if it was a catalog sale, where they've done their full provenance check and they're writing about it. They're going through and not guaranteeing, but taking a lot more responsibility for that. And this was not a catalog sale. This was simply a consignment sale. So right now, they're going to get back to me tomorrow with as much information as they can find. They were very concerned about it. Of course, they've got a great reputation. It's a great name. Just the same as this dealership in Florida. Seems very concerned about it. So I don't think that anybody knew anything about this. And, of course, the VIN does not come up as stolen. It just comes up as an Audi 80. And when it was imported to the USA, it was as a Audi 80. You can find that. And I did. We know when it came in. We know where it came in. We know who brought it in, etc., etc. But we don't know the background to what happened and why this chassis number has changed. But what did happen later was a text message was sent, and it basically showed a picture of another RS2 and said, look, this RS2 here that we are looking at has the same style VIN as this other one. Well, once that reached me, I said, no, the other one I imported. And I have records of every single car that I have ever imported, not just on my computer, but backed up in a separate location twice. So if anything ever happens to one of those, I have 2 more copies for every car I have ever imported, of which I have inspected the VINs and checked them as much as I possibly can. So I know that this car that we're talking about now has a good VIN. And we can see the difference here. This is the Audi 80, WAU. Every single RS2 is WAC. That's the first one. Let's load up another one. There we go. So, different build dates. May of 94, 9 of 94, WAC. So, when it comes up as WAU, it's just wrong. So, I called the person that owns this Audi RS2 that was getting quoted as having the same chassis number, which is Diogo from AMS in New Jersey, who's a big person in the community. A lot of people know him. He does great work on those cars. I imported his car. Long story separately for that. But say, hey, do you know that your car chassis number is kind of getting thrown under the bus a little bit? He said, oh, wait, hang on. I know the dealership. Let me call them. He did. They investigated the car more. And here it is. The car is red underneath the blue. When I first called, very nice person I spoke to said, look, we've gone over the car, we can't see signs of crash damage, etc. To the best of our knowledge, it is blue, it always has been, it always will be. But today they did discover that it was red. Which, if we go back to our original build, the color is Z3N. Which, if we bring this up, there we go. There it is. Dark red. So, it is Rubin Rot Pearl effect. That is the dark red that they saw, which I think brings it up as the final conclusion. The Audi RS2 that was at Sotheby's, RS2, that was advertised there, unfortunately isn't as such. It is the little old, made in December 16th, 1993, Audi 80 Avant in burgundy red. So, again, I'm not critiquing the dealership. I'm not accusing Sotheby's or anybody else. The dealership has said they will fully refund Ant his money. He doesn't get his dream car. It's not the car that he expected. So he's going to get a full refund. Where does this leave the dealership, though? Well, it's a beautiful car. It's genuinely a beautiful, beautiful car. No question at all. And I think it still has a lot of value. It's a beautiful car with all the right parts. It has the right wheels, the right brakes. Diogo pointed out something. The bumper is not correct. It's a Rieger bumper. So that one's not right. But otherwise, it's got the Recaros. It's got all of the right parts in it. So, I think that has some strong value. That drivetrain, the wheels, etc., that has a value of, well, $10,000, $20,000, $25,000 for those parts. They are really hard to get. And an Audi 80 Quattro, 2,000 euros will get you a cheap one. 4,000 will get you a decent one. 6 or 7 will get you a very nice one. $2,500 for importation, processing. Let's add on another $500 because we've got to get it transported from somewhere to the port. We've got to pay the taxes on it. That's a $5,000 to $10,000 car plus $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 worth of parts, plus a nice blue paint job. We're mid-30s without labor or anything else. Diogo from AMS, he guessed that it would be a $30,000 to $35,000 car. Again, like all the rear panels, the badging, everything is beautifully done. The engine is great. Again, some things changed up a little bit. On the interior, a weird gauge there. But it looks spectacular. I mean, this car is killer. And whoever did it, however they did it, did a really good job, because the only reason that we found this is because Chris reached out to me to buy one, and he mentioned this one was available, and my brain just looked at it and said, this chassis number, something's wrong. There's also this weird switch in the dashboard, but whatever. But all the carbon trim, the 6-speed manual, again, this is really valuable and rare parts. So I would put this car, if you tried to recreate it today, at a solid $35,000 to $40,000. People have built replica RS2s before. The parts used to be more available. They would get crashed. They would get partied out. As long as you keep that original VIN, that's fine. So, where does this leave us on this one? It's the original red car with the original chassis number. The VIN plate's been removed and riveted back on, but it may have been removed to paint the car. So that means it's the right VIN on the right car that's not an RS2. So is it a replica? What happened to the original one? Maybe there was no original one. Maybe this is just a lot of parts bought off of used cars or crashed cars or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with it in the slightest. Is it an RS2? In my opinion, no. Please let me know in the comment what your opinion is, but is it worth the real strong RS2 money? For me, no. For me, would I like to own it? Yes, it's a beautiful car. The seller who I talked to, who has been in the car community for years, big Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche guy, said it drives amazingly. So is this desirable? Absolutely. I mean, just look at it. It's a spectacular car. So, with all that said, if you are looking for a car like this with the backstory, it's no longer at Sotheby's. It is at the dealership in Florida. I'll put the VIN in the description. They would like to sell it, I believe. And if they've got the hot potato, they could possibly be losing a bunch of money on this. And that sucks. It sucks. It was bought in good faith. It was sold in good faith. It's being listed in good faith. It's just got the wrong VIN for an RS2, but potentially the right VIN for this car. That's it. That's where we're at. I haven't heard back from Audi yet. I was hoping to find out where the original burgundy red car was sold, find out the name of the buyer, try and do more sleuthing. But this got pushed to a head today when the car got bought by a friend. And again, I'm not trying to call anybody else out in the slightest. I'm just sharing what I know. These are my opinions, and I've tried to only share facts with what I know. It's a crazy market right now. It's a crazy world in the Audi world. I mean, Ford Escort Cosworths, Audi RS2s. The S2s are now at the price that the RS2s were. The Golf Rallies, the Golf Countries, Lancia Delta Integrales. It goes on and on. If it's a late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, they are hot. And yes, they do come in under the 25-year rule, so we can import them without modifications and keep the beautiful lights, the beautiful Porsche mirrors and stuff. So make of it what you will. For Ant's choice, this was not the car for him. For Chris's choice, this was not the car for him. But I do think that this is a car for somebody. I'd love to have it sitting here. I can't afford 85 grand. But let me know what you think. Again, big thank you to Benny at Porsche for the assistance. Big thank you to George at Audi Club North America. Big thank you to the people who are not going on record but did help me with this. And really big thank you, and I'm going to shout them out right now. Big thank you to the dealership in Florida. They took my call. They were very gracious about it. They are doing the right thing with Ant, in my opinion. And they are now got to work out what to do with it. And I mean, I wish we'd found it was an early pre-production. If Porsche had come back, and if you have information, if you can prove otherwise, or if you have background information, or if you know why this was done, please let the world know. For now, though, thanks again to the Suspension Source for helping me make this YouTube content possible. Thanks again to everyone involved. I'll see you soon for regular car nerd things and sharing, instead of being here in my messy office while we are moving into the new office upstairs. Thanks so much. Wash your hands, wash your cars, and goodbye.